I know you generate a lot of revenue for your company, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But you also manage sales reps.
I do. Yeah. I got a
So
team of 18.
Yeah. So you're a large producer. So your company counts on you to drive revenue, right?
Right.
But they also count on you to kind of manage revenue at the same time, or manage people, right? So how do you balance that, man? How are you successful doing both? I think every great salesperson tries to get sucked into management one way or another, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because people are like, oh, if you can do this, then you can do that. But I think not a lot of people are built for it. I know I'm not. I think I know myself enough to know that, I like to coach salespeople, but I don't want to manage them. So I'm more customer facing, right? I like that to have that interaction with the customer, deal with those challenges. How do you manage selling and managing, per se?
Yeah, for sure. So what I've noticed about sales in itself is that if you're a top producer and you know how to do your job, most sales companies are going to try to promote you because their goal is to make 15 to 20 mini U's for you to train people to do what you do. And I learned that very early in my career, just starting off in real estate, because I got promoted very young. But I wasn't yet at a point, and I was like 22, 23 years old, where I was managing 40, 50-year-old people, and it was kind of intimidating, and I just wasn't there yet. So it does take a specific strategy to be able to be a performing sales manager. And what I mean by that is you're producing yourself, right? Where most sales people, when they become managers, they let off the throttle because they believe they're going to make the big bucks, you're going to make override on your team, et cetera, et cetera. But if you could do it right, not only can you make an override on your team, but you can also produce for yourself. And typically managers will have a higher rip, right? Because that's just the way it usually goes. And so, to answer your question, how, it's a matter of how you actually lead your team. A lot of sales managers out there and a lot of people that are listening right now can probably relate that you might have a sales manager that really leverages the hierarchy. So they talk to you like you're a subordinate. They tell you that you got to do this, you got to do that, but they're not in the trenches with you. And I think that is something that really kind of separates me from everyone else, is that I'm in the trenches with them. And so every day, I have this scoreboard where I line up all my agents. It's side by side. So I create teams. So if I got 18 agents, each line has like 9 on each side, right? But every single day, they start off at 0. And I'll remind them where they're at month to date, but you give them an action plan. And that action plan means the only way that you put a point on this board is if you've created a result that moves the needle. So to translate that in my world, that means locking a loan, and you can only lock a loan if you have everything in, right? And then the other way to make a point is you submit that loan into processing. So those are the only 2 things that count. I'm not worried about calls. I'm not worried about how many outbounds you did. I don't care about how many credit reports you did. At the end of the day, if you want to get on that board, you had to have moved the needle twice in only 2 different ways. And the thing is that I'm on the board with them. And so, I'm not hiding, I'm not like most managers. They'll tell you to do it, but at the end of the day, they haven't done it in 2 or 3 years. So it's easier for them to kind of say that. And a lot of sales, even when I was just an agent, I used to look at him like, okay, well, how come you're not doing it? Why aren't you doing it? And you think that. And I think that is a very helpful feature, but it also pushes you. But where my team really thrives is that they really absorb the teachings and the training and the tidbits and the hacks that I share with them, and they execute it. And the reason why is because I deliver it in a more creative way, right? So instead of saying, hey, you need to make 40 more calls if you want to get this many more closes, I actually tell them and say, hey, check this out. Here's a hack. If you did this, you can actually increase your close ratio and probably add an extra couple more units per day. And they look at it and absorb it a little bit differently than me giving them a command, right? Yeah. Me telling them, hey, just go do this, as if it's so simple. And it's great. I mean, it works. I think that the energy of the team in itself is highly competitive. But the key thing is that they need to understand that everything rewinds to 0. So that salesperson is not bringing in any victories and then not bringing in any defeats into the next day. And I think that's one of the secret sauces that kind of keep salesmen down, whether they had a good day or a good month, a month before, they let off the throttle, right? Because they're like, oh, I'm good. I got a lot of money coming my way. or they'll bring in the defeats into the next day and say, man, I don't want to go through this no more. I don't want to do no calls. I'm not feeling it right now. And so psychologically, when they see the scores reset every day and everyone's back at zero, it just reminds them that they, you know, it's a brand new day. It's a brand new start. You have right now to make the most impact that you can.